Welcome to the Power of Integrity podcast, where leadership aligns with principles. I'm Ralph Adamo, your host, and I'm happy to be here with you. Today, we have a wonderful show with Todd Leigh of Harvey Company. Todd and I, in full disclosure, are longtime friends. We became friends through our daughter's group of Indian princesses some 15, 18 years ago, maybe even a little bit longer now that I think about it and put a timer to my children's age. Age. But Todd Leigh, welcome aboard and thank you for joining the podcast today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Ralph. It's been a long friendship and professional relationship, and certainly appreciate you including me here.
Yes, and I guess in full disclosure, I might as well say that Todd has been a client of the firm for probably 10, 12 years at least, I'm going to say. And so, full disclosure, Todd, I love having you as a client in the client community, but more importantly, love you as a friend.
Thank you. Feelings mutual, Ralph.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, Todd, maybe so our audience can get a feel for Todd Leigh, where he's been, what he's done, what's led him to where he is today. Could you kind of give us that professional path and even part of the personal journey you've taken to date?
Sure, sounds good. Yeah, I've always been in the financial services industry. I started as a CPA, public accountant in Illinois. I went to the University of Virginia, which is where I met my wife. First job was in Chicago, working for Price Waterhouse, and then a couple of years into that, I was recruited into a financial services software kind of and services company, small business in Chicago, and I helped them grow their business, including expanding into Europe. My wife and I, Julie, spent 6 years in London, and when we were over there, we sold our business to Credit Suisse, and since then, I've kind of always been in business development, sales, in the financial services industry.
And today, Todd, you're lined up where? You want to tell us about where you landed and what you're doing?
Yeah, I probably should include the current stuff. Yeah, Harvey and Company. I've been here 5 years. We're a firm that sources private companies for private equity investors to buy, and consistent with the other firms I've been at, we I lead our efforts to bring on new clients, which means I interface with a lot of private equity funds and other financial sponsors that are trying to buy private companies.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, kind of shifting to our topic of the podcast, I know you, as everybody who's been a guest on this show, to be people of integrity. But when you think about the word integrity, Todd, what comes to mind for you, and what would you say integrity means to you?
Yeah, I mean, professionally and personally, I think it's you know an incredibly important trait in the way you carry yourself. I think if you don't have it, you could do a lot of other things well and probably get nowhere if you don't have integrity. And especially in a sales role, when you're selling a service or a product or what have you to a potential customer, if they have any sense that you don't have any integrity, then I think your chances of having success are really low. It's a foundational thing for me, and I think personally too. It's the best friends are the ones that you trust, and so if you don't have integrity in personal relationships and friendships, like the one we've had for 20 years, it doesn't work.
Yeah, that's for sure. I don't mean to make it a commercial about me or the book, but the book I wrote, Integrity at Work, on the back cover, it was the ghostwriter who wrote integrity, dot, dot, dot. You either have it or you don't.
Right.
That becomes right. There's no gradation there. You either have it or you don't, and that's for sure. When can you share an example about where the principle of integrity played a role in your professional journey?
Yes, the one that probably comes to mind the most for me is when we sold our small business when I was in London to Credit Suisse. We were a small software service provider to fund managers, people that were investing in the stock markets. And when we moved over to Credit Suisse, we were on a much larger platform, than our small business was. And without boring you with the details, we had an opportunity to get paid a lot more for our services than we could as a small company. And so, over the course of the first 2 years of being part of Credit Suisse, our little company, we increased our revenues by 5x under the Credit Suisse banner. And we really weren't doing anything different. We were providing the same service to our customers, but they were able to pay for our services through trading and commissions and things like that that are common in the industry. And it was just really gratifying to see that, people really valued, that we were people of integrity. We did what we said we were going to do. We delivered the service that we promised, under promise, over delivered. And to see this big organization, Credit Suisse, with 25,000 people, see our little company of less than 100 make such a big impact on their business was really neat. And it was kind of earlier in my career, and kind of reinforced the concept of doing what you say you're going to do and having integrity, um, and the payoff to our new owner of our business was huge.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. When Now you've had to, over the years in different roles, probably not as much right now in terms of the volume of people that you lead, but you have been leading people over the years. When you think about leadership with employees, or leadership at home as a parent, how does integrity play a role in your life?
Yeah, I mean, I have a team here at Harvey and Company. It's the marketing team and business development team that I run here, and I think, you know like selling to our customers, if you don't have integrity with the employees that report to you and work with you, I think it's just not going to be a great working situation. And it's hard to get them to work hard, for the team or the company, if they don't trust the person they're reporting to. And so, I've always tried to, operate that way, and I've tried to operate that way in personal relationships. It's critical. And I've had good longevity with the people on my teams at various companies that I've worked for, and I think that, speaks to operating in an integrity way. So.
Yeah. And Todd, when you think about your employees and their productivity, does integrity, you think, add to that bottom line in some way?
For sure, I think people work hard for people they trust, and they're excited to come to work every day, and they're going to put maximum effort in. If they don't feel that trust, then, they're probably going to look elsewhere for another job. But they're also probably not going to put, full effort into, where they're working today.
Yeah. Now, the folks with regards to your client base, your customers, clients. I know in your world it's a client, but some of these folks will regard their consumers as customers. But what's your sense of the role integrity plays for customer and client loyalty?
Yeah, we here at Harvey and Company, we get a lot of repeat business, and it's a really important part of how we grow our business. I mean, we most of our customers come back to us again and again for our services. They'll buy a business in an industry and want us to help them find other companies to buy, and then they'll buy another business in another industry and look for our help there too. So, you know, doing what we say we're going to do, and operating with integrity gives you the chance for that repeat business. I think without it, you get no chance for the repeat business. And I look at the number of customers we have today, and the majority of them are repeat customers. And so without that, I think our business would be a fraction of the size it is today.
Yeah, last podcast I had an opportunity to dive a little deeper with the guest because he had an interesting model of business working with the FDA on a number of the medical devices. And so he unwrapped or unpacked for us a little bit about what goes on in the background. And I'd love to give you an opportunity to talk about how Harvey and Company does the things it does, the buy side, the sell side. I think I'm using the right vernacular. Maybe I'm not. Clarify for our audience and kind of walk them through the mechanics of what goes on in your daily life and what goes on at Harvey and Company.
Sure. Just maybe one clarification: buy side and sell side are definitely the right terms in the investment banking world, which we're a part of. The clarification I would make is Harvey and Company is only a buy side firm. So unlike a traditional investment bank like my prior employer, Credit Suisse or Goldman Sachs or Morgan Stanley, they'll represent sellers and buyers. So they'll play both sides depending on the transaction. We're a specialist in that we always work for the buyer. So we're a very pure play. We don't have any conflicts of interest where we might be representing a seller and a buyer in a similar industry. We're always on the buyer's side. So what that means in particular is, a typical scenario would be, you know, a private equity firm buys a medical staffing business, let's say in Phoenix, Arizona, and they want to build a regional player in the southwest of the United States. So they want to buy other medical staffing businesses, maybe in Tucson or Las Vegas or Los Angeles or what have you, and build a company of greater scale and get the economies of scale from doing that. And so they'll engage with us to go out and research and find, what other medical staffing businesses in the southwestern part of the United States would be a fit to add on to their business. And then we'll reach out to them in a really thoughtful way with very customized, kind of targeted outreach to the business owners, and see which ones are interested in having a conversation with our client. And so we kind of facilitate those relationships and allow our clients to privately negotiate transactions. And a lot of these, business owners, maybe they don't have a succession plan, and they don't know what they're going to do with their business when they want to retire. And so, we can be a really good solution for that in a very private and discreet way, as opposed to maybe hiring an investment bank and running a big public process for selling their business. So that's a typical engagement for us with a private equity firm.
You talked about the inherent conflicts when a firm could be representing buy side and sell side, especially in the same industry. Does that ever present itself where there's a conflict of you're representing someone in the same industry, same demographics, and you've got to use your barometer of integrity in order to measure whether we go forward or not? Is that ever a tool of necessity in your world?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's foundational to how we do our business. So if we're back to my original example, if we're working with a medical staffing business in the southwestern part of the United States, and someone else comes to us and wants to buy the same thing and engage us, we have to say no. So we're very specific about the scope that we dedicate to our clients, so that we're only working with one buyer that would want to buy a certain type of business. Now, we could work with a medical staffing business in that scenario that wants to buy businesses in the northeastern part of the United States or in Europe or, another geography. Or we could work with a staffing buyer that wants to focus on industrial um, industries and not medical. So there are ways to work with multiple buyers in related industries, but we're very careful about not promising the same thing to more than one customer. And it's just the right way to do business. It's very frustrating, to be honest, for somebody like me in the marketing department, because we have to say no a lot to potential clients. Um, but I'd rather do that and have them respect us and ask us for, another opportunity down the road, than to promise the same thing to two different customers and upset both of them.
Yeah, for sure. Now, Todd, there has to be, well, it doesn't have to be, but my suspicion is along the way, there was a time when either integrity was tested or the counterparty you were working for, with, or worked for you did not present themselves with integrity at the end of the day. And I'm wondering if you can give an example on how you dealt with it.
Yeah, we have contracts with all of our customers, and we negotiate those contracts. Not really a lot. I mean, it's pretty standard across our clients, and so we sometimes have people that will push us to make changes to our contracts. And again, as the salesperson, you want to bring on that new client and maybe try to bend things, a little bit here or there, but it just never pays off. We always want to treat everyone the same and have consistency. And so, while hitting my numbers as a salesperson or what have you might drive you to want to bend the rules a little bit, we just don't. And it's just an easier, cleaner way to operate. But I've had many times where people have said, "Hey, just make these changes, and let's work together." And I just don't do it.
Yeah.
It's not
Well,
it's not worth the anxiety that comes out of that, and and creating a situation where client A has a more favorable situation than client B. It's just I can't look client B in the eyes, and feel good about myself. So just don't
yes.
do it.
Now maybe it's prior to Harvey and Company. Todd, you ever remember a time where working with the counterparty and they just lacked integrity while you were in the midst of that working relationship? And how did that go?
Trying to think. I I can't really think of anything in particular
I,
on that
without
side.
giving it away, I can remember there was an individual in your life with an investment process that.
Yeah, yeah. No, I was I think you're referring to when I was an investor in a fund, and
Correct.
they misrepresented what they were investing in, and it ended up, as a negative financial situation for me personally. And yeah, it's disappointing, and it probably stiffens my resolve to operate with integrity, because I would never work with that person again. And it's uh, that I remember you advising me actually in that situation. It was really helpful to get your thoughts on that. But it just shows the damage of not doing what you say you're going to do.
Yeah, it destroyed the future of that working relationship. And if I recall correctly, it was fairly costly in terms of dollars and cents that were disgorged and lost in that environment.
It was so. But I guess you live and learn. But you're going to run into those situations at times, and it amazes me that people can operate in business that way. But usually it ends badly.
Yeah. Well, I can tell that's a topic that's still sore to this day. So we'll shift gears real quickly. So now, one of the things that I always try to ask of our guests is about insights that they would give either their younger Todd or their children or the that are coming into the workforce, whether they're starting a business, a profession, joining an organization. What are some of the things that you would say, even if it's off the topic of integrity, that you would say these were things that I would have done or should have done or would tell my mentee to think about doing as they begin their professional endeavor and path?
Well, it's timely question for me, because I think, as you know, I have twins that are 25, so they're in the work world. Have been for a little over 2 years now, and they've finally gotten that age where dad might know a few things, so that they actually ask my opinion about things, as opposed to what was the Mark Twain quote: "When I turned 25, I was amazed what my parents learned in the last 10 years." I think they were operating more in that world for the last 10 years. In all seriousness, they're great. They're great kids, but they do ask me a lot about their careers, and I see my daughter. I guess she's on her second job, and my son's in his first. And we've had a lot of discussions around loyalty to your company, and in this day and age, I think people jump around a lot more than they maybe used to in our generation. And so, I've had a lot of discussions with them about early career, and I moved around a little bit, with opportunities, but I think you have to balance that with, having some loyalty to the place that you do work. But above all else, I think it's all about the experiences and doing things that you enjoy and you're interested in and you're good at. Those usually go together. So I the big move I made early in my career was leaving this large accounting firm, Price Waterhouse, and joining a 20-person organization that seemed like it was really interesting, and it was related to the stock markets, which I was very interested in, and I had a skill set for them that was important. And I took a chance on a very small company, and it led to a different trajectory on my career, and I'm really glad I did. And so, I've had those types of discussions with my kids too.
Yeah, that great takeaways, great input. So we've been here with Todd Leigh of Harvey and Company. Todd is a director at Harvey and Company, and we're having a wonderful conversation. I got a couple of things before we separate and go back to our workday, but I'm curious, Todd, what when it comes to your bucket list, which I haven't asked up until recent our guests, do you have one? And would you mind sharing the one or two things, even if you're formulating it right now on the spot, what comes to mind that Todd wants to achieve before leaving this earth?
Um, well, first of all, my faith is really important to me, so that guides a lot of my life. Uh, but in addition to that, as I've been working for over 30 years now, and I wouldn't say I'm at the end of my career, but getting into a little bit of the later innings. I think your priorities shift. Life is about balance, and I, you know, I put faith first in my life. I put my family second, and I put my work third. And so, with one son who lives in New York, a daughter who lives in Washington D.C., and a third son who's in school in Utah. Travel has become more important to me, and spending time with family and quality time with family has become more and more important to me because we have less of it now. And so I think that's kind of my category that's most important on the bucket list. I mean, as an example, my wife Julie and I we're going to New York in a couple weeks, and we're doing a big celebration for our twins turning 25 and having a nice dinner in New York and taking all their friends out. And I cherish those times, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Yes, yes. Well, your eyes light up, and the tone of your voice settles right in. Yes, you are a man of faith, family, and commitment for sure. So, Todd Leigh, we're rounding the corner. Folks want to get in touch with you. How do they best do that?
uh, I'm on LinkedIn. You can find me there. Todd Leigh, Harvey and Company. My email is tleigh@harveyllc.com if you want to shoot me an email, and be happy to chat with you.
Wonderful. Well, we've had a wonderful conversation on the power of integrity. I really appreciate you, Todd, as a friend, as a colleague, as a client. You're a great man, and I'm really blessed to know you and have you in my life.
Thanks, Ralph. Thanks for inviting me on. I appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. Take good care now. We'll speak soon.
The information presented in this program is provided for informational purposes only. The information is believed to be reliable, but no guarantee of accuracy is made or implied. Expressions of opinions are as of this date and are subject to change without notice. The information in this material is not intended as tax or legal advice. Please consult a legal or tax professional for specific information regarding your individual situation. This information does not constitute a solicitation or an offer to buy or sell any security. Investing involves risks, including possible loss of capital. Ralph Adamo is registered with the securities and are offered through Kovac Securities Inc., member FINRA. SIPC, 6451 North Federal Highway, Suite 1201, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, 33308. Telephone number 954-782-4771. Investment advisory services are offered through Kovac Advisors, Inc. Integrity Wealth Management is not affiliated with Kovac Securities, Inc. or Kovac Advisors, Inc.